This story happens after Jesus appeared to Thomas and the other disciples, and it happens at the Sea of Tiberias. When Simon Peter and Thomas, who is called the twin, and Nathanael, also called Bartholomew, and the sons of Zebedee, and two other disciples, decided to go fishing. But although they fished all night long, they caught nothing. At daybreak, when the sky was just becoming light, Jesus stood on the beach. But they didn't know it was Jesus. He was far away and the light was still dim. And he called to them and said, "Children, you do not have any fish, do you?" And they said, "No, we do not." So he said, "Cast the net from the right side of the boat, and you'll find them." So they cast the net to the right side of the boat, and they could not haul it in, for now there were so many fish. Then John, the disciple Jesus loved, said to Peter, "Look, it is the Lord." And when Simon Peter saw that it was Jesus, he leaped out of the boat and began to swim to shore, while the other disciples brought the boat, for they were not far from shore. When they came ashore, they found Jesus there with a charcoal fire, with fish cooking and bread. And Jesus said to them, "Go, get the fish that you caught." And so Simon Peter went, and he dragged the net ashore. And though there were so many fish, 153, still the net was not broken. And then Jesus said to them, "Come, have breakfast." And he gave them the bread, and he gave them the fish. After they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Simon Peter said, "Lord, you know that I love you." And Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Then a second time, Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Peter said, "Lord, you know that I love you." And Jesus said, "Tend my sheep." Then a third time, Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Now Simon Peter was hurt because Jesus had asked him 3 times. And so he said, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." And Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." Simon Peter, when you were a young man, you would fasten your own belt around your waist and go wherever you wanted to. But when you are an old man, you will stretch out your arms, and someone else will fasten the belt around your waist, and they will lead you where you do not want to go. Follow me. And Simon Peter followed. Now, do you suppose that Jesus has a flock of sheep, woolly sheep, that he wants Peter to look after? No, of course not. He doesn't have a flock of sheep, but he does have a flock. Do you know who Jesus' flock is? You, me, all of us. We are Jesus' flock. And Jesus is telling Simon Peter to take care of his flock. The church is Jesus' flock. And Simon Peter would become one of the great leaders of the early church. And so Jesus is giving Simon his commission, telling him to go and take care of the church, the community of believers who'd come to accept Jesus as the Messiah, to put their hope and their trust in him. Today, it's those who believe and are baptized and are made one in the body of the church, grafted into the life of Jesus, made part of Jesus' body here on earth. Jesus does something else for Simon Peter. Do you remember in the story of the Last Supper, when Jesus tells Peter that before the cock crows, Peter will deny him 3 times? That's just what happens. When Jesus is arrested, Simon Peter is afraid. He's afraid that what happened to Jesus will happen to him. And so when someone asks him, "Aren't you with the man? Don't you know him? Aren't you from Galilee too? You're one of his friends." Peter 3 times says, "No, I don't know him. I have nothing to do with him. I don't know the man." He's afraid. 3 times he denies Jesus. And so after Jesus rises from the dead, he asks Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" 3 denials, "Do you love me?" 3 times. He's forgiving Peter. He's reconciling himself to Peter. To reconcile means to be friends again, to repair a broken relationship. Literally, reconcile means to be eye to eye with, eyelash to eyelash. To be friends again. He's restoring Peter. And Peter says, "Yes, I love you. Yes, I love you. You know everything. You know that I love you." Then Jesus tells him that there's going to be a consequence to that. When you were young, you would put your own belt on and go where you wanted to. But when you're older, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will fasten your belt and will take you where you don't want to go. Simon Peter would go all over the Roman Empire proclaiming the resurrection of Jesus. He would go up and down the empire telling everyone he could the story of Jesus. In the end, it cost him his life, as he too was crucified. But by then, he wasn't afraid anymore. He was brave. He told the story of Jesus, and he told it with boldness. So did Thomas, who was there that day. Peter went to Rome. Thomas, it said, went to India and preached there. James, one of the sons of Zebedee, was supposed to have gone to Spain. That's where the cathedral is in his memory. All of the disciples, all of them began to proclaim Jesus throughout the world. Only one survived to not be killed for what he was saying. John. John was exiled to an island, Patmos, where he lived out the rest of his years. All of them, though, spoke boldly the story of Jesus. They went around the empire proclaiming one thing: Christ has died. Christ is risen. Christ will come again. Easter is a feast day, but it's also a season. 50 days long, and we're in that season now. And so I say to you, a happy, joyful Easter. Alleluia, he is risen. God bless you.